Hey there, welcome to the latest episode of Hiker Homily. Today we're going to do something a little different. I'm sitting here in my chicken run with the coop behind me, and you can see the ladies are over here going after their snacks. And I thought, a little something different, things other than hiking that hikers do. One of the things I like to do is, howdy ladies, is we keep chickens, backyard chickens. It's been kind of an interesting adventure, and I want to talk about how we did that, why we did that, for those of you who might be interested. I know at least one viewer who lives in the Hollister area, has backyard chickens himself. It's been kind of a fun adventure. So this, for my wife and I, started in there's no fighting, there's plenty chickens. Started in the COVID time. A lot of people picked up new hobbies in the COVID time, right? Because we were all kind of sitting at home and stuff like that. But right about that time, our municipality that we live in, the city we live in, finally made chickens within the city limits legal. Now they put some limits on that. So that's one of the first things I'm going to say is, if you're thinking about doing the backyard chicken thing, it is quite an adventure. It takes a lot, but one of the first things you have to do is find out if you're in the city limits, if your city allows you to have chickens, because not all cities do. And then quite a few of the cities that do allow it have rules on it. For example, the city I live in puts a cap on how many chickens you can have. So we're inside that cap, right, girls? And I keep calling them girls, you notice, because I have no rooster, because that is also against the rules in the city I live in. No roosters allowed, apparently because of the noise. Now, I've learned now, raising chickens as I have now for several years, that hens can be just as noisy as roosters. Maybe not on as much of a consistent basis, because they don't crow like a rooster will, but they will do things like sing an egg song when they've laid an egg and all that kind of good stuff. So it's like, yeah, chickens can be a little noisy, just be aware of that. But yes, so no roosters, only a certain amount of chickens and things like that. And some cities I've heard, like, there are like a difference. I mean, any chicken technically can lay eggs, but some are better egg layers than others, and some are considered what they call meat birds, that are raised basically, for slaughter, so they can be used to cook, and you can cook any chicken. But some cities actually put rules on that you can't have birds just for the meat. If you're going to have them for the eggs or as pets, that's fine, but you can't have them for the meat. And it's just, there's all kinds of weird rules. I don't even want to get into what our city does with the rules for beehives. We have a beehive in our backyard as well, and there's all kinds of rules for that are just ridiculous in order to do it, but you got to do it. So having chickens, when we decided to do it, we have a decent sized backyard, and you do kind of need that. We can't really free range our chickens, because chickens are not full flight birds, but they can fly. And I know some folks have them in the backyard and they haven't had any trouble with them going over the fences, but chickens can, if they really wanted to, get up over a fence. So we decided, especially because we have dogs. I also know I have seen raccoons in our neighborhood, because they use the sloughs and small creeks in the area to walk through the city and get into the backyards, and a few other things. And I know we have hawks and eagles in this area. We decided to keep our chickens safe, and we purchased, and you'll see the pictures that I'll put up and things like that. We purchased a what was basically a canine dog run that was about 10 feet by 30 feet long, and I'd say approximately 8 feet tall, with a door on one end, and it works perfectly as a chicken run for the number of chickens we are allowed to have in the city. We're not allowed to have a huge number of chickens, so awesome. This was actually a good amount of space, and it fit in our backyard just fine. Now, the next thing is what about a chicken coop? Well, for us, we had an old playhouse. Both of our children had, by the time COVID hit, one was away out of state in college, and one was in high school. And so they had outgrown this old playhouse that we had in the corner, just sitting in the corner of our yard. So we took that playhouse, and you'll see the pictures that I'm sliding through here. We took that playhouse. It was a little tall to fit into the chicken run that we were going to build. So my wife, being the ever incredible construction engineer, she really does have a scientific mind, an engineer's mind. She just loves doing everything from crafts to carpentry and things like that. She went for it, cut the bottom off of the playhouse, put a new flooring on it, and we set it up in the chicken run, and then set it up as a coop. And one of the things that we were able to do, or my wife was able to do, I gotta give her the full credit, was she added to the back the nesting boxes. And again, because we're only allowed to have a certain amount of chickens, you can look up online how many nesting boxes you should have per chickens that you own to be optimum about it. And so 3 was more than enough technically for the amount of chickens that we're allowed to have. And so she put 3 nesting boxes on there. We roofed it, did all that kind of stuff, and then we put things in there. As you can see, we've got this old ladder. We've got some branches from the last time we trimmed some of our trees, all kinds of things, including a little swing set my wife built for them and all that. Because you want to give chickens are a social animal, and they're a fairly intelligent animal in some ways, and so you want to give them entertainment. You want to give them things to do. So we give them a stimulating environment. And chickens like to feel safe up high, so we give them places where they can get up there and roost. But in this, as you can see, it's got a covering over it and stuff. We don't have to, and they don't have to worry about birds of prey. If a raccoon really wanted to, it could probably get in through this thin wire, but we haven't had that issue. Plus, we do have a dog now. We lost one a while ago. But a dog in the backyard, the raccoons usually stay out of this yard, and things like that. So we set it all up, and what you doing, girl? What am I doing? You checking it out? So we set it all up, and we had our chicken run. And our first 3 chickens were we bought from a local feed store as pullets, not as chicks. We bought them as little pullets. See, they do like to get high and see what's going on around here. What are you doing, Snow? Yeah? And we bought our first 3 chickens years ago. And that was, and I'll put a picture up of them. That was Blaze, Sandy, and Sergeant Pepper. And we called her Sergeant Pepper. We originally called her Pepper because she's a black and white bird. But because she ended up being the boss, she was the head hen, the leader. She would decide when they went in the coop to go to bed, and who got to eat, and who got to roost where at night, and things like that. So we started calling her Sergeant Pepper. Those were our first 3 birds, and shortly after we also got the 4th one named Ruby. And Ruby was the first one we raised from a chick. She started out with 4 others, and unfortunately none of the others made it. And that's another thing you have to watch out for when you're buying chickens. Is it's tough when you have a certain number of chickens allowed and you're trying to stay at that number. However, you aren't guaranteed anything. You can buy these, unfortunately the chicks aren't that expensive, but you buy actual chicks and you set it all up with an incubator, the heating lamp and all that good stuff, and you can buy 5 chicks and end up with only one making it out to the outside coop and things like that. And sometimes you'll buy 5 and all 5 of them will make it. And so, yeah, so it's kind of a balancing act when you're you're down to like, say, 1 or 2 chickens, and that's not great because chickens are very social animals. You don't want them to be alone, so to speak. So when you're down to like 1 or 2 chickens, it's like, well, we should get a few more chicks then, raise them, get them up to a certain age, because then, we'll continually have around the number we're allowed to have in the city for one thing, and then you have a flock, so they get their social stuff in and things like that. Well, you have to be careful because it's like, well, if I buy just a couple of chicks, what if none of them make it? Now I'm all messed up, have to start over again, or maybe I have a bird by itself. It's just all part of raising chickens. You have to watch out for that kind of thing. And it is kind of interesting how they do have a pecking order, and it takes a while to introduce new chickens into that flock. It looks like they can be quite mean to each other, but you have to understand that that's how chickens establish who's in charge, what the pecking order is. And that's literally the term, pecking order. That's where it comes from, is watching chickens and what they do. Now, one of the reasons we did it was because we were just interested in it. And also, I have to say that once we got our first birds up and going, and they were old enough, they started laying eggs. From that point forward, for the last, I want to say probably 5 years, we have not bought an egg from the store at all. With even a small amount of chickens will lay somewhere around 280 something days a year. So not every single day, but if you have 3 or 4 chickens, you're bound to get an egg, at least one egg almost every day, if not multiple eggs. And I'm going to check mine in a second. I'm pretty sure there's at least a couple of eggs in there, if not a few more, because several of the girls are laying right now. And so it's not a big deal if you look around and you realize, oh, there's I have a couple of chickens, but there's no eggs there, or there's only one egg. Yeah, they're not going to lay every day, but it's almost every day. And so if you have 3 or 4 chickens, that's 2 or 3 eggs a day you're probably going to get. That's actually a decent amount of eggs. So we have never needed to buy eggs in the past several years. We have them for cooking. We have them for breakfast, to put in whatever kind of egg batter that we need eggs for and things like that. It's been pretty cool. And not just the practicality side of it, they're entertaining. They're really entertaining. Sometimes I'll sit in the backyard and just watch, because they're a crack up. The way they do, they just hang out in their yard, and they hunt and peck, and they scratch. I throw little treats down for them. That's what they're mostly going for now, is I've given them little treats, and they're looking for that. I give them what's called scratch, which is corn and seeds and things like that. I put out little mealworms for them. They really like that. The protein's good for them. And yeah, so they'll go after that and have a good time. I'm going to walk through the run here, see what we've got as far as eggs. So we've set this up. My wife has set this up really nicely, so that this is the back of the coop right here. Trying to get it in as best as I can. And she's added this on, and it's a flip up door. And sure enough, we have eggs. I didn't collect yesterday, so some of those are from yesterday, and then some of those are from this morning. And the other thing I wanted to mention about eggs is, like I said, some of these are from yesterday. In a natural state. What are you doing, lady? You are just curious, aren't you? Yeah. In a natural state, these eggs have a membrane around them when they're laid. Trying to get eggs and balance a chicken and everything at the same time. Have a membrane around them, and they will be good unrefrigerated for up to 3 weeks. Now, if I leave them in there and the sun starts beating on the back of the coop and things like that, that can be a problem. You don't want to have that go on. But if they've just been sitting there like this in the morning in shade, and then I take them inside, these will be good for up to 3 weeks without refrigeration, if you don't wash the membrane off of them. So don't wash them. You wash them just before you use them, and there they are. So what I'll do is I'll take these inside. I'll write the date that I pulled them out of the coop on the top tip of them, put them in our little egg carrier that we have on the counter of our kitchen, and we know, the little egg carrier, the way it is, it's kind of a I'll take a picture of it. It's like a little round thing. So the older eggs are on the bottom. I pull from there, and it just, they keep moving down in this little egg dispenser that we have. And then the new eggs go on the top of it. And we just keep doing that. And it's pretty good. It's been a pretty cool system. So like I say, we'll wash these just before we use them, and not before. If you do, that just seems weird to you and you don't want to do that, even though it's perfectly safe, you can wash them, put them in a little container and put them in the refrigerator. Then they'll be good in the refrigerator for several weeks. But I mean, you literally do not have to. You get them refrigerated in the store because those eggs have been washed and bleached and processed, basically. And so they're only going to last a certain amount, and they have to be refrigerated. But naturally, these eggs don't need refrigeration because they have that membrane on them until you wash them. So that's kind of cool. So backyard chickens, it's been a lot of fun. We had a great time. My wife and I like to just do projects together and have a lot of fun. So it was a lot of fun just putting all this together, putting the chicken run together, I helped her as much as I could build the coop. And then a lot of the time, because I'm retired and she's working, I'm the one who takes care of the chickens on the day-to-day. I make sure they've got water, I make sure they're fed, they're entertained with stuff out here, they get their treats to scratch after and things like that. So that's worked out pretty well, and it's been a lot of fun. I collect the eggs, and she and I, it's just one of our favorite things is we'll come out here and we'll just hang out and watch the chickens, and they're a crack up. And I also do really enjoy having these for breakfast. One of these babies fried on a little hash brown or on a piece of toast. Awesome breakfast. And maybe it sounds cliche, it's weird, but like this, fresh from the chickens that I know what they've eaten, I know where they're getting their food sources from, I've taken care of them, I know that they're handled, and things like that. These fresh eggs that haven't been bleached, haven't been processed, they're their natural colors, washed right before I use them and things like that. They do taste differently than the ones we used to buy in the store. They just do. They just taste better to me, and I definitely notice the difference. When I go to a restaurant and order an egg and things like that, I can taste the difference between those processed store eggs and these ones that I get directly from my chicken's bum. So backyard chickens, I could talk about them for a long time, and I might do a second one on basically exactly what it takes to get started and what you feed them and things like that. But basically there's all kinds of stuff out there for it. If you're interested, let me know in the comments and things like that. But it's been a lot of fun. It's something we enjoyed and something we started doing during COVID, and we kind of enjoyed that. Other than that, that's a different kind of hiker homily for this time. Hope you enjoyed it, and I'll catch you next time.